Bible readers, welcome back. Before I go into sharing the lessons for today's reading, I'd like to just share some reflections from the last chapter that we read yesterday about the judgment of the nations. Now, it is argued that that chapter was speaking about the judgment of that day in that time, which was around 700 BC. And other Bible scholars believed it was talking about the day of judgment of the Lord, which was the final judgment. And what I believe that it could be referencing both the judgment that had already happened and the judgment of the future. In today's reading, we learn about the ransomed captives returning to the land. And in view of the way we considered yesterday's prophecies, I'm inclined to believe that it references both time frames. The return of the Israelites to the promised land, which has already been fulfilled, and the return of all God's children adopted through Christ, which includes Gentiles like me, to the restored earth, which is yet to be fulfilled, which will be fulfilled. In verses 1 to 10, we see that the proclamation of new life from the Lord brings a message of hope that will strengthen the weak and the fearful. God made a promise to the people, and he fulfilled it. The ransomed captives were indeed returned to Israel after 70 years. This goes to show that God can be trusted to keep his word. So if he makes a promise, he's good to make it happen. The chapter ends with promises of God's salvation. God's highway, which we see in the verses, will provide a safe and joyful way for his people to journey to Zion. It signifies the everlasting joy and security that he will bring to the lives of his people. Chapter 36 revisits the story that we read in 2 Kings 18, where the king of Assyria sent some of his leaders with a great army, and they came to confront the leaders of Jerusalem under Hezekiah. They used their best intimidation tactics to instill fear into the people and make them believe that God was against them. And they did this to create doubt. They wanted the people to doubt God and doubt God's ability to help them. And they also wanted to make the people follow them willingly into captivity. They mocked God's ability to care for his people and offered the people provision and protection if they followed them. Obviously, this was a lie. As we know, and I mentioned, King Hezekiah had told his people to pay them dust, which they did, and they didn't answer them. They were wise enough to obey. Now, here's my hashtag getting to know God lesson. God can be trusted to bring about a fulfillment of his prophecies. In chapter 35, we read the description of a beautiful time in the future when Zion will be restored to its glory. As it stands, God has already brought about a partial fulfillment of that prophecy, because from what I hear, there is deserts blooming in Jerusalem today. So much so that Jerusalem is the largest exporter of, I think, tulips or flowers to Europe. So that part where he spoke about the desert place will be blooming, we've already seen that coming. And I personally am looking forward to the total fulfillment of God's prophecy when there will be a new heaven and a new earth, and we, the remnant, will be able to just live in peace and harmony and flourish in the garden of our love, of our God in love. So I hope you are looking forward to it. And just to say is that for anyone looking forward to this, just make sure that you have invited Jesus into your life, because the only way is through Christ. Christ is the only way to God. And I pray that you would truly accept God and allow the Holy Spirit to lead you in the way that you should live. And one day we'll all live in this amazing place that God described in this prophecy. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow when we'll continue with Isaiah 37 to 39, and then we'll also read Psalm 76. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.